A couple years ago, I made a very big decision in my life. I decided that after 5 years of being vegan, I was gonna eat meat. And I thought I was very weak for wanting meat again. And you may be thinking this as well. Oh, just another vegan who couldn't resist eating animal products. And you know what? That actually really wasn't the case with me. I didn't have a problem saying no. I actually kind of found that part really, really easy. And I enjoyed being able to say no to food because I was in a weird kind of I like to deprive myself type of mode in my life. My desire to eat meat was not like me walking into my mom's kitchen smelling like bacon crisping on the stove. That wasn't it. It was deeper than that. It was this intuitive knowing that if I didn't add meat back into my diet, my health was gonna completely fall apart. So when the moment came where it was so abundantly clear to me that I needed to add in meat again, which I spill all the tea about my health problems that arose while eating this way in another video, I had to tell my 17K followers on Instagram that I no longer was gonna eat this way, that I was officially a meat eater. I got massive amounts of backlash, dropping my follower count pretty immediately from 17K all the way down to 8. Hate messages, mean comments, attacks, they all came flooding in. Even though these messages were really harsh and definitely something that negatively impacted me, I knew I had to detach. I had to turn off my ears, forget what others were saying, and listen to my intuition. I wanted meat. So let's go over these 4 things. Number 1, what was my biggest fear about leaving this way of eating, and were any of them valid? Number 2, what were the first things I noticed? What were the immediate results from starting to add animal products back into my diet? Were there any results? I don't know, we'll go over it. Number 3, this is a big one, but how I navigated the whole topic of eating animals again. Number 4, what my diet looks like now. And number 5, if I have any regrets leaving the vegan diet. I do have 1 or 2, so let's just get into all of this. In 2008, I read a book called The pH Miracle by Dr. Robert Young. So this is a book that I picked up actually with my brother because we both kind of got into health at the same time. I developed an autoimmune issue when I was 8 years old called vitiligo, where I have white spots on my skin, and I became very keen to understanding nutrition and how to support my body in getting rid of my vitiligo via the foods I was eating. This quickly turned into quite the obsession. I started listening daily to podcasts and stories and reading books and attending conferences and going to events, all to learn about the powers of a plant-based diet. The pH Miracle was really my first introduction into this, but then it just skyrocketed from there. I truly thought at that time, after all of the things that I read, like the China study and, Dr. McDougall's book and everything, I literally, truly, honestly thought that this was the way for me to heal my autoimmune disease, to prevent other metabolic diseases in my life, and to literally, I think in the minds of 14-year-old Chloe at that time, it was my way of obtaining everlasting health. So after all my years of studying, this was the narrative in regards to food that just kept on running around in my head. Number 1, I had this huge narrative that dairy caused mucus in the body. Number 2, I believed that meat putrefied in our system. And number 3, I was told time and time again that eggs were simply just the period of a chicken and that I was eating a period of a chicken pretty much. And so I had this narrative that it was just disgusting and something that I should stay away from. Of course, also that came along with the narrative of cholesterol and saturated fat is literally the thing clogging our arteries and making us sick. I 1000% was on board with this whole narrative that like hot dogs and, grilled meat causes cancer, and that red meat in particular would clog my arteries. So this is just a basic overview of kind of the narrative that I started creating in my head in regards to animal products and their nutritive value or their non-nutritive value in someone's diet. So naturally, my biggest fear when leaving this way of eating was the impact it was going to have on my health. Even though I was at the point where I understood my health is super bad right now and I'm eating meat because I think it's going to improve my health, there still was that big fear of, am I setting myself up for cancer, for diabetes, for heart disease, for all these other metabolic issues? Like I still had that fear because these narratives were running so strongly in my head. So we're quickly gonna go over the 7 things that helped me reduce this fear. Number 1, I had to remind myself that before I went vegan and I was eating anything and everything. I grew up in a French household. My mom made us a lot of meat, a lot of lamb, veal, ossobuco. We had a lot of risotto, a lot of butter, a lot of cream, a lot of things like that. I had to remind myself that during that time of my life, I was extraordinarily healthy. I had a monthly menstrual cycle. My hair was really thick and strong and shiny. I was full of energy. I never had digestive issues. I had to remind myself that that was after years of eating meat. And when I looked at my family and everyone else in my family, mind you, I am one of 6 kids, and then mom and dad. And so there is 8 of us. And out of all 8 of my immediate family members, every single person besides me and my brother, who both decided to go vegan, every single person was literally like the epitome of health. No mental health issues, no physical ailments, no blood sugar issues, no diabetes, no, heart issues, nothing. Not even like digestive issues. I remember one day I was sitting in the living room with my sister and she was eating a handful of cashews and then she was like, oh my gosh, is this what bloating feels like? And I was like, what? She's like 20 years old and she's like, is this what bloating feels like? Like she'd never felt bloated ever before in her life. So that's like the family that I come from. And I had to just kind of admit to myself, everyone else in the family eating animal products was dealing with good health. And I literally had brittle nails. My teeth like literally were so sensitive and my gums were receding. My hair was falling out. I didn't have a period. I had insane digestive issues. I had insomnia. I had extreme anxiety. Like there was a reason. And diet was kind of the one thing that was just like different between both of us. Number 2, after I allowed myself to kind of open my eyes up to the vegan diet, I started doing a lot of studying about the efficacy and the history of a vegan diet. And to my surprise, honestly, at that time, I learned that there has been no recorded civilization in mankind that has survived off of a plant-based or vegan diet. So this new way of eating, this plant-based way of eating is an experiment, and that helped me kind of get out of me wanting to stick with it. I wasn't willing to put myself through such a big experiment like that. The reality is, when we look at history, our bodies have been evolutionarily designed to digest and assimilate meat. If we go all the way back to the beginning of our species, all the way back to the Homo sapiens about 2.5 million years ago, they were eating meat. The next generation eating meat, the next generation eating meat, the next 1,000 years eating meat, the next 1,000 years eating meat, then eggs, then milk, then all of these things, right? And then veganism all of a sudden becomes popular, and I'll give it 50 years, even though I think it's a little bit less. It's really just become popular in the last like 15, 20. But let's give it 50 years, right? Of now this idea of we can subside off of nut butters and quinoa and broccoli sprouts and like all of these things. It's a pretty new concept, and understanding like evolution and how long it takes for a species to switch its species-specific diet, it would take a very, very, very long time. That does not happen in the span of a decade, 2 decades, or 3 decades. That would have to literally go through a whole long process. We as humans would have to eventually evolve to be able to create enough B12. So maybe our body eventually could evolve into somewhere in our intestinal tract. We could create enough B12, but it's not at that point yet, right? We need supplementation. We also need supplementation if we're vegan for vitamin D, for vitamin A in the form of retinol. Because again, if we look at it evolutionarily, we are literally programmed to be getting our nutrition from these animal sources. And this is why we don't see big civilizations and communities going vegan, because it wouldn't make sense, right? We would have to supplement everyone, and that only works if we're in our modern, day and age and we have access to supplementation. But again, that made me go like, this can't be our species specific diet, which is kind of what I got when I was like listening to all of these people talk about veganism and how it's our perfect diet. It just started making no sense. So this really helped me leave, because I was like, wait a minute, I think my body actually is designed to eat and process these things. Number 3, I opened my eyes up to the fear mongering that happens in the diet community. Every single year, there's a new thing, whether it's carbs or fats or saturated fats or meat, that is apparently causing every single disease. And I think I just took more of a bigger approach to, there are a lot of things that will cause dis-ease in someone's body. Stress being like the number one factor, and that can be stress from your job, stress from not having access to, healthcare or access to clean water. Like it could be so much more than just diet. And so I think that helped me take the pressure off of my diet needs to be perfect in order for me to be healthy. Number 4, I really realized that the fear that I had around food was definitely 100% worse than the food, honestly. Like I was in such a chronic state of anxiety and stress around what I'm eating and if it was good for me. And I just needed to let that go, because it literally wasn't promoting health in me in any way, shape, or form. Number 5, I started doing some research on YouTube and Google and on social media in general, listening to all of the stories from other people who had gone on a vegan diet and who had gone off of the vegan diet. Why? Why did they leave? What was their reasoning? What were the symptoms that they were experiencing? And as I did that, I really came to understand that the symptoms are quite similar, and it was exactly what I was experiencing. And it started making me realize like, this isn't just my body's fault for not being able to eat in this way and to thrive. This is actually a really common phenomena where so many people who have been vegan for multiple years, who were staunch advocates of this way of eating, eventually had to add in animal products as their body became way too depleted eating this way. Number 6, my life just needed to not become just worrying about if I was eating the perfect diet or not. And again, that was energetically just a really healing part of this whole journey, was me stepping into this element of like, I just trust that my body's gonna be able to digest and assimilate all things. And number 7, the thing that helped me get out of this fear that I had that I was ruining my health with eating an omnivorous diet again, was listening to the communities like, the Western A. Price Foundation and the pro-metabolic space. Now, I do not associate myself with any diet label or group, but something that I loved about these two groups in particular is that they really did help me see how nutritive and how supportive animal products are in the diet for supporting metabolism, for supporting digestion, and all the other functions of our body. And so it really helped me to understand nutrient bioavailability and how the nutrients that we have in plant foods aren't always accessible to us to digest and assimilate. It was really helpful for me to learn all of those things, because it really just helped me, understand that meat is not just a slab of saturated fat, rather it is filled with essential vitamins and minerals that were going to be there to support my health. So what were the immediate results that I saw from starting to eat animal products? I remember the first meal I had was like a 4-egg omelet. And I remember that first bite I took, I literally felt this light bulb moment of oh my gosh, my brain is working again. I could feel it. I could feel everything in my body just like take a deep breath. It felt just like at ease. And I remember, you know, before I started incorporating animal products, I was listening to a bunch of videos of other people talking about their experience with starting to add stuff in. And so many people said that they had this like light bulb moment. And I remember all the like vegan people who were commenting on their videos were like, that's impossible. That's all just like made up. That's so stupid. You can't just have this like light bulb moment where your brain turns on that fast. But that's like exactly what I experienced. I literally was like, oh my gosh, like I can think again. Like that's literally what I felt. Like I can think again, I can feel again. A week before me starting to incorporate animal products into my life, I had a huge, like put me in the hospital panic attack. It lasted an entire week. I literally thought that I was having a heart attack. My hair was falling out in, no joke, handfuls. Like I would wake up from my bed and I literally would look at my pillow and it was just like clumps of hair everywhere. I couldn't sleep at all. And I was just, I was a complete mess. And that was kind of what spiraled me into being like, this is it, something has to change. I need to eat meat. Like I could just feel it in my body. My body was like, please eat meat. And the instant I ate that meat, my panic attack went away. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. Like I ate the eggs and I felt good and was like, whew, okay, I feel really calm. And then I went and I had steak that very night and my body was just like completely went away. Like all the heart palpitations, all the like the stress, the anxiety, the low blood sugar, all just went away. Within 4 months of me eating animal products, I got my period back. I didn't have a period for 11 years. So just 4 months of eating animal products and my period came back. I also experienced an increase in libido. I experienced just this feeling of strength in my body, like muscle tone strength that I'd never felt, or I hadn't felt, I should say, in like years prior to that. And yeah, there were just so many immediate results. And I have a whole video here kind of explaining more of that you can watch. But that was really definitely a good sign for me that like I had made the right decision and that I wasn't harming my health like I maybe potentially feared before. Nothing but goodness happened once I started adding in the animal products from a health standpoint. How did I get over the whole eating animals again part? And you know, there never seems to be a good way to go about this conversation. And I know that this is gonna be the point where most people get really angry. They're gonna say their peace of mind in the comments, which listen, you're more than welcome to. It's a comment section and I kept it open, so go ahead. I'm gonna try and do my best to explain kind of my thought process through this. And I think it goes back to what I was talking about in the nutrition kind of segment. Just back to the fact that, you know, our ancestors were hunter and gatherers and we never saw just gatherers, right? We always saw hunter-gatherer people, and hunting was such an important part of our ancestry. Like we are here, you and I, whether you like it or not, and you are here because your ancestor was a really good hunter. Like they figured it out. Let's ask ChatGPT what it has to say about hunting. Hunting has played an important role in the evolution and development of the human species. For much of our history, hunting was a primary means of obtaining food and other resources necessary for survival. Hunting provided early humans with a reliable source of protein, fat, and other essential nutrients, as well as materials for clothing, shelter, and tools. Furthermore, hunting also played a significant role in shaping human social and cultural development. Hunting required cooperation and communication among individuals, which led to the development of social structures and the transmission of knowledge and skills across generations. It also played a role in the development of human language, as hunting required effective communication among hunters. It's actually quite amazing how good of hunters we became, and then of course with the advent of technology and bow and arrows and things like that, we just continued to become better and better at it. And in all reality, hunters were a part of the ecosystem. It's the animal kingdom. This is what happens. Some people are prey and some people are predators. And if you think about it, in all reality, agriculture was the thing that kind of took us out of the ecosystem. Now all of a sudden, we were going to go through the process of deforestation, of literally, segregating thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of land to grow kale and to grow corn and to grow a lot of these like monocrops. And in all reality, to me, when I really think about it, that seems more out of nature than hunting, which again was a very primal, just animalistic, we are part of the animal kingdom type of approach to us getting our food. And listen, I'm not saying that, we shouldn't have agriculture, that we shouldn't be growing fruits and vegetables and all of those things. But I do just want to point out, because I know a lot of vegans think that this is the most natural way, right? Like we are abiding by nature, by, becoming vegan. And this practice of monocropping is in all reality just depleting our topsoil and killing our forest. And it's not necessarily the most natural thing. And I almost get this sense that like vegans in 2023 are almost trying to self-flagellate. Like they're trying to atone for their sins in the past of being a part of the animal kingdom and eating animals and hunting. And they're doing so now by completely taking themselves out of that system, which in turn really hurts their health. So it's kind of this weird self-flagellation kind of thing going on. So I think what helped me with this was just getting back in tune with like the primal nature of us humans, which involves us being really good hunters. And I do have to say that how we've gone about our food system in general is not the best. And I really do think the vegan diet, for one thing in particular, and that is the amount of information that they have really shared across so many different platforms and in documentaries about the harmful impacts of factory farming. And I get that that's a big turnoff for a lot of people, making veganism seem like a really good, beautiful choice, right? Like, doesn't this just make sense? Let's just all eat broccoli instead of doing this to animals. But again, we have to take into account the impacts that that's gonna have on our biology and our physiology. How are we gonna actually truly sustain ourselves if we all do start just eating broccoli? And so maybe instead of, really throwing out the baby with the bathwater in terms of us being against industrial farming, it's about us taking a different approach to animal agriculture. And that's when I started really discovering things like regenerative farming. Regenerative farming is an agricultural approach that focuses on improving soil health and promoting biodiversity to create a more sustainable and resilient farming system. This method of farming aims to regenerate degraded soil, increase the organic matter content, and build soil carbon, which can help sequester carbon from the atmosphere and mitigate climate change. These animals are born and raised in free-range or pasture-based systems with access to fresh air, sunlight, and room to move. And regenerative farming is actually something that I've been quite interested in. I spent 6 years working for one of the largest organic farmers in my hometown back in California. Amazing man, super sweet, learned a lot from him, and I learned a lot from the other farmers that would sell all their products at the farmer's market. And there are a lot of people there that are practicing regenerative farming, and they are treating their animals right throughout this whole process. And getting to know them, their story, and getting to see their farms and how they treat their animals really shifted my view on animal agriculture and how it can be done. And this is what's felt good to me. I go to my farmer's market nearly every week and I buy local, organic, pasture-raised meats. I buy, wild-caught fish. I buy cage-free eggs. And that has made me feel way better about this whole process. And I know that the farmers are practicing their craft in a way that is actually improving soil health and improving our planet. This store is beyond cute and I literally want to take everything home with me. Really, really good meats. And this is where I get my raw milk here in Texas. I ate this last night and it was beyond delicious. I've never had something, or I should say I've never had pork this good, but it's a copa chop. So I want to show you, I want to show you this pork. Look how red that is. Like, that's a pork chop. Like, what? Like, it's so good. It literally was like steak. It was fatty. You can see, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so good. You can see all the fat in there. That was like the best part of it. Absolutely delicious, just good quality. You can taste it. And it's just so nice to support local farm practices. Actually super nice, but I didn't realize that you have to pay cash for the milk, and I just had a card and the lady behind me bought my milk. It's just so sweet. It's just, yeah. It's like, that doesn't really happen at stores, but like, I feel like these local owned places like this are more just kind of friendly and family oriented. Like, I could have probably even just like put it on the tab, like, I'll get you next time, right? And that's just like, I don't know, that's just like sweet. I love it. So what does my diet look like now? Well, my fridge is kind of a mess right now, so let me just kind of tell you what I've been doing. First and foremost, I'd like to say that I don't have like a diet, right? Like, I'm on the Chloe diet. Like, I eat what I feel like, I eat what I want, and there's no like label to it. I'm not paleo, I'm not keto, I'm not Western price, I'm not pro-metabolic, I'm not any of those things. But what I am is someone who understands the importance of good quality food. And I eat just a wide variety of everything. And that has been what's really helped me not only find physical health, but it's also helped me really have a good relationship with food, which has improved my mental health dramatically, which is literally just like so important. Right. So the final question, do I have any regrets from leaving veganism? And I can honestly sit here and say, I do not have any regret except for the regret of not doing it earlier, or the regret of even going vegan. And you know, it was a part of my life. It was a learning journey. So I guess I don't regret the learning experience, but I do have to say that I definitely destroyed my health way too much eating a vegan diet. And well, I could have gone without doing that. As far as leaving and the experience I've had now, years later, eating animal products, I've only experienced really good health, and I've only just had my life open up in so many ways. I'm finally me again. I don't introduce myself as, hi, I'm Chloe and I eat this way, or I, enjoy these type of foods. I don't talk about food with other people. And that has allowed me to actually build connections with people that are way more deeper than the food that we eat. It's allowed me to be me in so many different ways, and it's allowed me to travel the world. It's allowed me to say yes to dinner invitations from people that I've literally, again, met literally all over the world. It's allowed me to sit down with my family in a non-contentious way and just enjoy a meal together, to literally physically break bread together. And that has literally just been nothing, literally nothing but sunshine and rainbows for me. That's been my experience. This whole thing is my experience, but I definitely wanted to share because I know so many people have gotten caught up in this way of eating, and people can do what they want. You can do whatever you want. And I know that the comment section is probably going to be filled with people telling me that, oh my gosh, this is so wrong, this is so bad. I'm not telling you what you have to do. I'm simply sharing my experience because I think we learn a lot from other people's experiences. So you can at least be open to just hearing it. This was my experience. You can't you can't fight it, right? It's like, you can't tell me I don't feel a certain way or I haven't been through a certain thing. And I'm not trying to tell you that you don't feel a certain way or you haven't been through a certain thing. I'm simply sharing my story for those of you who are maybe feeling similar ways that I was feeling, a complete just like deterioration of health. And you're eating this way and you're looking for confirmation that, yeah, this isn't just my body being bad and not being able to do this. I'm here then to help you see that, hey, there is life on the other side of veganism. And you can really switch around your health by switching around your diet. And maybe it's time for experimentation. That's all I want people to do is, can you just be okay with experimenting and recognizing that different seasons of your life are gonna call for different types of food, and being okay with learning to adapt and switch that when your body starts telling you to. If you are interested in hearing more about my journey of leaving veganism, about how the whole experience went down, I do have 2 videos here that you might be very interested in taking a listen to.